listening to the Cross-Check NHL Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Andrew Berkshire and Mary Clarke.
Hello and welcome to the Cross-Check NHL Show. Thanks for making the Cross-Check NHL Show your first listen every Tuesday and Friday. We are free and available on all platforms, now including YouTube. My name is Mary Clarke, staff writer for The Win, and you can follow me on Twitter at Mary C. Clarke. I'm here with Andrew Berkshire, NHL analyst for the Montreal Gazette and host of Game Over Montreal and the SDPN. You can follow on Twitter at Andrew Berkshire. On this Friday edition of the Cross-Check, well, if we didn't know the true colors of the Blackhawks organization before, we do now after Rocky Wirtz's absolutely disgraceful town hall press conference on Wednesday, where he attacked two reporters for doing their jobs and asking the important questions about the state of the team. Oh, and we'll also talk about the Olympics and the upcoming All-Star weekend, because it's February now, and the hockey schedule is heating up, and, we want to have a little bit of fun, because that first topic is going to be miserable to talk about. So, Andrew, before we start off today's show, how you doing?
I'm struggling a little bit, Mary. The first day is always the hardest when you're flipping your sleep schedule, and I didn't have a great sleep the night before, so I was just like teetering on the edge as I was watching the Olympics all night, and I'm just exhausted. I had a good morning, though. The boys were really, really nice this morning. They behaved really well. The only thing is, usually Kish is the one who gets up with them first, so almost every morning, Miles comes in the room and he's like, "Daddy, put on eye drops," because I do eye drops in the morning to just get out the crud or whatever, and it helps wake me up. And he's noticed that, so he says, "Daddy, put in eye drops." So I wake up, and I wasn't in there; it was Kish. So he went and grabbed my eye drops and said, "Daddy, eye drops," and I have no idea where he put them.
Oh no!
He didn't bring them to me, so we'll figure that out later in the day. And then it was just like, Kish was like, yeah, ready to go to daycare? And I was like, yep. And she's like, "You're going to drive?" I was like, "Nope, you're driving." I'm not putting myself behind the wheel this morning. It's too dangerous. So I'm drinking my tea. We're going to get through this show, and we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, eventually your sleep schedule will, reset itself basically to be where you're okay. And like you said, the first day is the hardest. I, on the other hand, am struggling because we're recording this early in the morning. And when I say early, it's not really that early, but it's early enough for me that I was like, "Oh, this sucks." So I'm not gonna tell you the time because y'all make fun of me. But in my defense, I work late nights because of my job. I didn't work last night, but I work late nights, so I'm more used to having a nighttime schedule. And for me, for the Olympics, most of the stuff I'll be covering is going to be at night, so that it's gonna be fine. It's just a casualty of having to do our schedules the way we are. But we're here. We're going to talk hockey. We're going to do the Olympics a little bit later, and also the All-Star game, because that's going to be a lot of fun. But we got to go through a very important topic first. And oh boy, Andrew, I think we're both.
Oh my God.
I think we're both super mad at this. The Blackhawks stuff has all been infuriating to begin with, but this last night when I saw this was when I experienced actual I don't know. It was a different
vibrating with rage.
It was a different type of anger because they haven't learned a lesson here.
Yeah.
But
the audacity of it to respond that way.
I know. Okay, but to fill people in if they haven't seen it, because it is super important. So the Blackhawks held a town hall on Wednesday night, and usually, when a team holds a town hall, it's GM, owners, talking about, the state of the team. A lot of times it happens. Well, I guess a town hall probably happens when the team is doing well too, but I've seen it most times when the team is not doing well. I'm looking at you, Philadelphia Flyers, because they do town halls and stuff like that. And then they had that big press conference with Chuck Fletcher recently. But the point being, they had a town hall on Wednesday with Rocky Wirtz, who is he a part owner? I don't remember his specific title.
He's an owner.
Okay.
He is the owner.
Okay, the owner of the Blackhawks. And a bunch of reporters were there asking questions. It was streamed, I believe, on YouTube. And Mark Lazarus, reporter for The Athletic, basically asked a question, looking to asking them like what the organization's going to do to empower players in the future in light of the Kyle Beach situation, which we all know by now. We've talked about multiple times. But it was a legitimate question, in my opinion. I mean, it's a pretty legitimate question. According to him, it was a softball, basically. And Rocky Wirtz basically had a tantrum live on stream.
Yes,
basically.
like a toddler.
Exactly. I have some quotes here, but the tweet that started it all, that I saw from Mark Lazarus, he said, "We're not going to talk about Kyle Beach. We are not going to talk about 2010. We're moving on." And oh my goodness, that, like he says in the tweet, that is the wrong answer. It's disgraceful. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of other quotes. Let me see if I can, cherry pick a few of them. I mean, he gets combative with both Mark Lazarus and another reporter, Philip Thompson, who also, I believe, asked a follow-up question, I think after Mark. I saw the video clips separately, not together, so I didn't see where they came, if they came one after another, but it seems like it was sequential afterwards. And Rocky Wirtz just, like I said, had a full-on tantrum, was very petulant, childish, and basically was like, don't ask about, past stuff like that. Like, we're leaving that in the past. Talk about anything else. Don't ask about this. Like I said, it was disgraceful. And this is one of those things where I saw the quote circulating online.
And you're like, oh, that's bad.
Then
you see the video.
Is so much worse. Like, I behoove you all to stop and watch those clips. Like, not just listen, but watch those clips. Because they're bad. They're really bad. And I think he put out an apology that I read this morning, but
which was a garbage apology.
Yeah, I don't want to waste time on it because we saw what Rocky Wirtz thinks live on Wednesday night. Those are his thoughts. He was clearly very unfiltered. I think the panelists on stage tried to one of them maybe tried to interject, but he just kept going. This is clear what he thinks. This is clear. This is not the first time he is, had this opinion of we're not looking back, we're moving forward, all that type of stuff. And it's disgraceful. It's disingenuous to, victims of sexual assault. Really disingenuous and disheartening for Chicago fans in this, who, I mean, I know, they aren't the priority, but they've just been slapped in the face so many times with this organization. And also, victims of sexual violence, survivors, Kyle Beach himself. It is incredibly insulting after what he went through this past summer to stand up. It's so disgraceful. It's terrible. And I'm so angry about this, Andrew. And I know a lot of other people are. So take the mic for a second here, please.
Okay. I do wonder if Kyle Beach's lawyer is kind of wishing they waited now and took it to court, because to see that kind of attitude out there. I'll say this. Having given Rocky Wirtz the benefit of the doubt when this first came about, when the lawsuit came about and details started to emerge, because he did act genuinely shocked. I'm not saying that I have any information about whether or not he knew, but I no longer believe that he didn't know. I no longer believe that it was just the hockey men that knew and they pushed it under the carpet, because for what Mark asked, that is not a situation where you get defensive. It's not something where you anything about the Kyle Beach incident where the Blackhawks should be mentally right now. They should not be in a defensive mode. From their perspective, that lawsuit is settled. They are moving forward in a way to prevent that from ever happening again, both in their organization and in hockey at large. That's the way that they have to look at it in order to not be eviscerated as an organization. So I don't understand the defensiveness unless they're very aware that they got away with something that has not come to light yet, right? And that bothers me greatly because that $2 million fine from the NHL continues to be an absolute joke.
God, I forgot about that. But so much
Yeah.
has happened. To be fair, so much has happened since the Kyle Beach stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
$2
mean,
million fine for a family worth 2.5 billion.
I mean,
Like,
we were outraged at the time when that
yes.
happened, but it's even more
It's
outrageous now.
it is. And the thing is, like, the thing that pissed me off the most about watching that, like, his aggression was completely uncalled for.
Oh,
His
yeah.
defensiveness was uncalled for. But when Mark Lazarus kind of didn't back down, and he was like, "Listen, like, I'm asking a reasonable question," and he was like, "That's none of your business." It's absolutely our goddamn business. It's everybody's business because you've proven that you can't be trusted, and you don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore. None of these teams should. Like, that is the whole goddamn point.
Mhm.
You don't get to operate in secrecy anymore. You don't. You've proven that you cannot be trusted to do that. So in his stupid apology, where he's like, "Oh, it's too bad that my response took away from the great things that we're doing." Tell about the great things. Mark gave you an opportunity. Not only was it a softball question, he was giving you an opportunity to have like the best PR moment for the Blackhawks since this whole thing came about. Tell people how you're going to be ensuring that no kid that enters that organization will ever be abused again. I mean, as soft as the criticism was on TNT when they talked about it, I was glad that they brought it up. Wayne Gretzky had like a great point, and he was talking about how, oh, like maybe he was just having a bad day, or there was friction between Rocky Wirtz and Mark Lazarus. But if I have an 18-year-old kid drafted into that organization and I see that, what do I think? You're demanding a trade, right? Like, why would you ever want to be drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks right now? Like,
Mhm.
have your kid be drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks. I would not trust that organization at all.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
exactly. And we should also, like I said at the top, Philip Thompson was also one of the journalists that got
just got berated for no
for no
reason at all.
reason, and Rocky Wirtz wouldn't let him. Like, he was like, "Ask another question," and then he was like, "I'm trying," or "Okay," or something to that effect, and Rocky Wirtz would just keep talking over him. And that was tough to see because he's also a Black journalist, and it is the start of Black History Month, and just like, I know that
Just
that's
no respect.
yeah, I
Like,
know. No respect. I know that's a bit more superficial, but like, I mean, like I said on Twitter, all the props in the world to both of them for asking those questions. And no one should be treated like that, journalist or otherwise, because that was just rough to watch. I know if I was in that situation, I probably would have broken down and cried because that's the type of person I am when confronted with any confrontation whatsoever. But the Blackhawks should have known these questions were coming. They should have known. I mean, the media
how
is
can you
usually there.
how can you hold a town hall and not think you're going to be asked about it? It's the
Exactly.
biggest story in your organization since you last won a Stanley Cup, like
Yeah.
easily.
And
And
the team
I
is
think you could
bad
argue
right
it's
now
bigger.
too. The team is
Yeah.
bad.
What do you
Like,
think this is? What do you think you're gonna get? Like roses because you paid a $2 million fine and settled a sexual assault case? Like, you didn't do anything progressive here. You just did a half right thing to kind of make up for a colossal screw up,
mhm,
and hiding that screw up. I just, I don't understand how an organization and an owner could be that blind to what's going on. And like, we've talked before about how like NHL players are boring because they're media trained. This is a 69-year-old billionaire and he blows up like that. Like, learn from your players a little bit. Like, get some media training. You acted like an absolute moron.
mhm.
PR disaster. And this story is not over
Oh, no.
because just the way that Chicago media reacted and the way that NHL media at large reacted when they saw it, like, the Chicago Blackhawks are not going to be treated with kid gloves here, I don't think. Usually I find hockey media is a little bit too soft, but I think like Mark Lazarus has earned a reputation now where he isn't afraid to ask tough questions, even though that wasn't a tough question.
No,
It was
he
an
said it was a
opportunity for them,
yeah.
but like, they're not going to let this go. And the apology was not sufficient. It's going to have to be a hell of a lot more than that. And transparency has to come immediately.
Yeah.
Or like,
And
if not, dissolve the goddamn Blackhawks. I don't care that they're an original six team. Like, I'm so tired of this garbage.
mhm.
Like, just do the whole Clippers thing and force them to sell.
And I think the worst part is this came out before this whole town hall thing, but aren't, like Patrick Sharp and Marian Hossa and I think Eddie Olczyk like assisting on the search for the next general manager or something like that?
Yeah.
Something to that effect. We're two of those players on the 2010 team.
Yes.
What are we doing here, Blackhawks? What are we doing here? It's just disgraceful from all angles of this story.
They
Like,
just don't. They don't care. They
they
don't
don't
care.
care.
They
They don't
thought
get
that
it. They didn't learn nothing.
they
What?
are so foolish, Mary, that they thought that settling the lawsuit was a PR win. Like that's how they viewed it. They're like, it's over. Washed our hands of it. Paid them off. Never gonna have to talk about this again. Are you kidding me? We're gonna be talking about this for 50 years.
Yeah.
It's never going away.
No, it's not. And I don't see a path forward here other than just wiping the front office clean, starting fresh. Like I know people like dissolve the Blackhawks organization. That's not going to happen.
No,
We
it's
know
not.
that's not going to happen, but there has to be realistic solutions here. I don't know, and I don't even think that's realistic either because there's no way the NHL does it either, but like someone has to step in here and be like, you can't do this anymore. Take the toys away. Like,
I mean, the NHL Board of Governors could step in just like the NBA did and force a sale. I
they're
don't think
not going to though,
they're
because
not going to do that here.
there's probably more skeletons in the closet of other NHL
Probably.
owners that they don't want disturbed, so they're not going to go poking at this with like a 10-foot pole. Like it.
Yeah.
I don't really know what the solution is here because I mean, like you said, you could dissolve the organization, but that's the nuclear option. I don't think
It's not a realistic option.
It's not a realistic option. And
I could say, like, if I were in charge of the Blackhawks, the first thing I would have done out of all of this is like whatever they settled for, pay double, first of all. Everything would be completely transparent about the processes to allow players to be empowered to speak about these things. New hiring practices would be made public on how you would vet prospective employees. And the other thing I would do is just get ahead of it and stop screwing around. Change the stupid logo.
mm-hmm.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Like, just stop and reflect entirely on your organization from top to bottom and operate in a way where you're forging a new path forward that isn't this like problematic cone of silence. Let's just pretend bad things don't happen and they'll go away eventually garbage. If they would have done that right out of the settlement with Kyle Beach, I feel like a lot of people would have given the Blackhawks not necessarily a free ride, but like the benefit of the doubt once again that they were trying to do the right thing. But
Yeah.
instead we get this, and I don't know how you can be a Blackhawks fan right now. I feel like it's got to be so hard if you're in tune to this at all to cheer for that team. Like, not only are they bad, but just morally,
Yeah.
how can you root for that organization?
I went through similar things with, I've talked about this before with Penn State and Joe Paterno and all of that stuff. It's very difficult to keep your fandom when something like this happens. I mean, stuff happened at Michigan State too with the gymnastics stuff. It's tough. It really is. And you feel like it reflects on you as the fan. But it doesn't, and it shouldn't. The Blackhawks organization is just rotten from top to bottom. It's hard to let go of, things you cherish like that. And I was in a different place mentally, physically, like all that stuff. I mean, I was in college when that happened, so a lot of, my perspectives have changed over the years, but it's difficult. And I know that you had this, really nice rosy dream of what could have happened with the Blackhawks had they, gone the extra effort and the extra mile to be like, hey, we're going to try and make this right. like, we can't make the past right, but we can try prevent this from happening ever again in our organization. And instead they circled the wagons, and are falling back on 2 players from that team, specifically that championship winning team. And yeah, it's just disgraceful all around. I really have no other words to say other than that. And I'm sorry to any victims of sexual assault again that are, reliving things because the Blackhawks are a trash organization and aren't respecting you or anybody else or that are survivors of sexual assault. I'm sorry to Kyle Beach. I'm sorry to the other anonymous John Doe that was also assaulted at the high school after.
Yeah, another reason why this is not over.
Yeah, because there's that part too. I mean, we haven't heard a lot
There's
about
also
it
wasn't
since,
there
but
another
that's how
Blackhawk that's unnamed?
I don't. Andrew, it's been a while. I don't remember,
Yeah.
but the legal process takes a long time. And I know damn well sure that this story wasn't going away to begin with, but it's got all the spotlights on it now because of this outburst. If it was just, a very milquetoast statement, like a very basic bargain bin statement, I don't think anybody would be reacting with such fervor as they are now. I really don't, because of Rocky Wirtz's complete tantrum. The media has all their eyes again on Chicago, and we probably should have been keeping it like in our forefront, but it's gonna stay there for now. And damn well sure that the Katie Strangs, the Rick Westheads, they were already doing the work to begin with, but
Yeah, they're not letting it go.
no, they're not letting it go. And I feel like that's the best we can hope for, is that the journalists do their jobs here, and keep pushing forward through, the noise and the distractions and, all that stuff to try and get the answers we deserve as hockey fans, as people. Yeah, it was just really rage inducing, Andrew. I think we both, I think we're both super angry about this. It's been some time since we talked about the Blackhawks situation because there hasn't really been news surrounding it. But it sucks. It's just terrible all around. The Blackhawks organization should feel embarrassed and ashamed after all this. I mean, they should have to begin with before, but they have to feel incredibly embarrassed and ashamed after what happened on Wednesday night.
Absolutely.
All right, there's no easy way to transition out of this, as we said before. So we're going to try. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Olympics because Andrew is sleep deprived. I'm tired. And the reason is, at least in Andrew's case, is because of the Olympics. Women's hockey started Wednesday night, Thursday morning, something to that effect. Right before the opening ceremony, which doesn't make sense to me, but maybe we can discuss that. So yeah, the Olympics are here. We're going to talk about that, preview stuff, get into the Canada-US rivalry because I am heated and ready to go, Andrew. We got a lot to talk about, and that'll be coming up right after the break. It's the New Year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it's so good, you'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky or waxy or taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it just gets so boring. By like week 3, you might be thinking, this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Built Bars, however, are covered in 100% real chocolate. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Here's an idea for the new year. Go to all your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry, in the office, in the car, wherever. Throw out all the sugary or calorie-filled treats and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and tastes incredible. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you could at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you. That way you can enjoy a delicious Built Bar. You can almost count it as a workout. There's so many flavors to choose from coconut almonds, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many more. In fact, Built is always coming up with some new limited time flavors, so check out Built.com often to see what's new. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off of your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, Andrew. So I didn't watch Team Canada's first game at the Olympics for women's hockey, but I heard it was a very explosive game. And I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about the Olympics with you because I love the Olympics. I've been really excited to cover it for my job. I've been doing a lot of preview stuff. And when I get back into work on Friday, there's going to be a lot of stuff to do. And I'm just really excited about the Olympics. It's going to be really fun for us to cover it. Also, because this is the first time we've really had, we had the Summer Olympics, but, I don't think we're going to get too heated over, swimming Canada, USA, or polo or Canada, USA. But hockey,
it's the winter.
Hockey is a winter sport. We all know this. So how's it going, Andrew? How's your sleep schedule? How is the game?
Like I said earlier, I'm struggling right now. Right after this show, I'm heading right to sleep. I got like an hour power nap between 4 and 5 a.m. last night, and then I woke up to watch the moguls qualifying for the women, which was fun. But and then do my show, which is Game Over International now. So subscribe to that everywhere you can find your podcasts, and also check us out on YouTube on the SDPN YouTube page. But yeah, the game was great. It was, not competitive because Canada and USA are really only competitive with each other in women's hockey right now. Although the teams are coming up, I feel like Finland is like really close, even though
you say that
USA is spanking them
4-0 at the moment at the end at like the final minute of the second period.
Yeah,
so.
Well, 4-0's not quite 12-1, right? So
Andrew, we can't all be Canada. So can't.
Finland's better than Switzerland is what I'm saying. Not so much that Canada's better than USA. I feel like Canada and the USA are so equal that it really comes down to who has the better luck in the gold medal game, or whether it goes to overtime, because then Marie-Philippe Poulin will win.
Yep.
But the game was great. It was really fun to see some of the younger players stand out. Sarah Fillier, really announced her presence. She scored the first 2 goals of the game, played amazing. Jamie Lee Rattray was like incredible in limited minutes. So there's a lot to talk about for them. The only sad part is that Melody Daoust was hurt. She fell to the ice, possibly hurt her shoulder, might have hit her head on the ice. And then I saw that Brianna Decker also
got tangled up with a Finland player in the first period of Thursday morning's game.
I feel like losing Daoust and Decker in the first game of the tournament for each team, like, that just is really sad.
You don't want to see
2 of the best players in the world.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. Just in general, but like, it's the first game of the tournament. Like, it casts like a very just sad pall over everything, because like the team should be at their best when they play. You want to see them at their best when they play. And now with 2 really good players, one knocked out for each team, we don't really know anything. The game, the United States,
they could be minor injuries.
They could be minor injuries. The U.S. game is still ongoing. By the time you hear this, there's probably more information because we're recording this a day early. But it didn't look good from what I saw. But still, it could be minor injuries. But it does suck that, like, first game, they're probably all really excited. Brianna Decker is a vet at the Olympics. So it's probably a little bit less so in nerves, but the excitement has to be the same all around. And especially because they're also playing in front of fans too, or I think, or at least a limited fans. I don't think a whole lot, but there's, I believe, some fans, or at least
I'll say it wasn't very loud.
Or other athletes. I don't know, but they're playing in front of other people too, in limited capacity. But still, like, it's the Olympics are an exciting time, and to lose 2 really good players out the gate, just it's a sucky situation on all fronts. You never want to see an injury, and at the start of a tournament, it's just like, you just got there. It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. And I mean, the glass half full thing is if it's at the beginning of the tournament, there's a better chance that maybe they'll be around for the end of the tournament. But still, don't want to see players of that caliber get
Oh no,
hurt.
never.
And other than that, predictions. I mean, Canada.
Yeah, we know. If I had to predict just to be safe, it's going to be Canada with Marie-Philippe Poulin again breaking our hearts in overtime, because I was writing something for the win as like a timeline basically of the USA Canada rivalry, because that's so long and storied over the years, since going back to the first Olympics and before. It's wild how much her name has come up over the years. She's just a killer. I have to respect it, but at the same time I hate her. So like but it's a hate born out of absolute respect. Like I said, like she is just an incredible hockey player. Canada is so blessed to have somebody like that, and I believe she's carrying the flag for Canada in the opening ceremony.
Yeah,
Is that what I saw?
her and Charles Hamelin, yeah.
Okay.
Who's I believe short track speed skater who has won, I think, 4 gold medals. It's like 6 medals overall or something like that, or maybe it's like 3 gold medals, a silver and a bronze. He's an incredible athlete. 37 years old this year and still going for gold. So
That's awesome.
he's wicked and a really nice guy and a huge Habs fan. So he follows me on Twitter, which is pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, if I had to put money, it's going to be Canada, because I want to hedge my bets in terms of like my emotional standing rather than being right. Because it really feels like a coin flip every year between these two teams. I mean, obviously we're predicting them both to make it to the final, unless there's some incredible upset that happens, but I don't see that happening with the strength of these teams. I mean, it's great that I believe 10 teams, 12 teams, something like that. It might be 10 that are competing in the women's tournament, which is great, because that means, the level of competition is growing. More countries, are bringing together teams that are able to compete at the, at the Olympics, at the world stage like this. But there's still really no one on the level of USA Canada. So we're all kind of, assuming that we're going to get them in the final, because why wouldn't we? I feel like they've been in every final mostly since women's hockey came into the fold at the Olympics. But it's going to be a really fun time. I'm looking forward to it. It's probably going to divide this podcast apart. I would be very upset if the United States loses to Canada. I will expect it, but that doesn't mean it won't hurt any less. Not that I don't have faith in the United States women. Don't get me wrong, but 2014 crushed my soul. 2014 crushed my soul, and I've never been the same since, because that game was awful. And rehashing that game in my timeline was just misery. And my editor afterwards was like, "You wrote with so much agony." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still feeling the effects of that game. That was awful." The miss. Where's the alternate universe where the United States doesn't hit the post and that goal goes in? I don't think we'd be living in a pandemic if that's the case. So you can blame the pandemic on the fact the United States women didn't hit that post and didn't win gold that year. I am calling it now. I want to be taken to the alternate universe where that didn't happen, so I can know, because I am.
It's like that meme with the ever increasing size dominoes, and it's like,
yes,
USA women hit the post, and it's like Trump gets elected, pandemic.
Yeah, maybe somebody make that meme, because I feel like I can't make it and post it on Twitter with no context. So if somebody wants to make that meme after this episode goes up, feel free, because that's exactly how I feel. I feel like, what's his name? Charlie Day at the conspiracy board, and It's Always Sunny. That's how I feel right now. But it's going to be a good time, though. Like I said, I'm really excited. You're probably going to see our mental states deteriorate over the next couple weeks, because maybe Andrew doesn't adjust to his sleep schedule.
I'll be fine after today, I think.
But I know we talked about hockey, and that's the main focus. The men's team, whatever. I'm intrigued to see where they go, but I have no hopes for the United States men, because they're not the story here. There's too much else happening, but we're still going to cover them or at least talk about them, but the women, I assume, are going to be our focus when we talk about the Olympics.
Yeah.
Just because they're playing at the highest, it's the players playing at the highest level of competition. I'm excited to see what the men bring, especially because there's going to be a lot of college players on that team, but not nearly as exciting as the women's game, for sure. But are there other sports in the Olympics that you like, Andrew? I was watching some curling last night, some alpine skiing. I really love the winter sports because I feel like I can put it on. I did come to find a new appreciation for Summer Olympics sports, that I wasn't, a big fan of growing up, but now I enjoyed putting them on in the background, but I like putting on the Winter Olympics because like I feel like I can put like skiing on or curling or something on in the background and just enjoy watching it. But are there other Winter Olympic sports that you like?
I honestly kind of feel the same way. I can watch almost anything Winter Olympics. I enjoy almost everything except for anything involving cross country skiing. I hate
Uh,
it. It's so boring. There's so many events. It just reminds me of, I mean, to a lesser extent, because swimming is actually fun to watch, but just like the number of swimming events in the Summer Olympics. And it's just like every single cross country event is like, surprise, surprise, Norway won gold in the 10 kilometer and 11 kilometer and 12 kilometer and 13 kilometer and 14 kilometers. Like, we don't need these.
It's
We
good
don't
to
need
have on
these.
it's good to have on in the background because I had a little bit of, like, the marathons on or the triathlons, whatever those are called. I don't remember. I think that the triathlon's the one I assume, the one that's, like, swimming,
Yeah, sure.
biking,
Have
running.
one, but we don't need like 12.
That's
There's
fair.
like half of all the medals in the Winter Olympics are like cross country skiing, and it's so boring compared to
That's
every
fair.
other sport.
It's fine to have on in the background so I can just, like, zone out to them, skiing their little skis or whatever. I'm excited. I always love ice skating. Love
Yeah.
ice dancing. I know, that's a big thing for Canadians. But I love ice dancing too. All the, like, you know, ice skating is great. Hockey, obviously. Um the snowboarding events are really cool, and that, like, they've added them over the years, the, like, half pipe stuff, the, like, little like, the course that they run on,
Yeah, I really like the snowboard cross. I find
Yeah.
that super fun, and I like a lot of the new events that they're adding overall. Like, I enjoy the mixed doubles curling is really fun.
Mhm.
It's just like in the summer, like one of my favorite sports in the summer is the rugby sevens.
Yeah.
Like, it's just super dynamic. So I love the new sports that they've added that are kinda twists on established sports, or, like, bringing some of the traditional, like, skiing thing into snowboarding. That's all fun.
Yeah, and like I said, I was watching alpine skiing, which is, the big one where they're on top of the mountain, making the like going super fast and jump, like making the not big jumps, but like they fly down the hill. Um, you know, so I'm really excited for the Olympics. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we both can agree that I think we like the Winter Olympics much better, mostly because of
Definitely.
hockey, but I don't know. I've always liked the other sports. But we're going to move on from the Olympics because there's going to be a lot to talk about with the Olympics in the episodes ahead. So just look forward to that because this is a really fun time of year for both of us. But coming up next, we're going to talk very briefly about the All-Star game and the All-Star weekend coming up in Vegas because there are some new events. Alex Ovechkin has COVID, or does he? We're going to find out all that coming up right after this. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the playoffs right to the big game in a couple of weeks. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right. So, Andrew, like I said before we went to break, the All-Star weekend is here, which, the NHL counter programming, of course, to the Olympics, because why wouldn't they? And the All-Star game is upcoming in Vegas. Friday night is the skills competition, and then Saturday is the All-Star game itself. First, I wanted to touch on, we'll probably have more to talk about next week after we've seen the events, but they added 2 new skills competitions, and kind of took our advice of doing off-ice things, at least from what I remember when we talked about the All-Star game a handful of weeks ago. We were like, do something different, and they are. Let me check to see what the names of the events are, but
Yeah, I know one of them is essentially like blackjack, but they have to shoot
yeah,
cards
so the
in a
first
thing.
one is Fountain Face Off, which is on the big Bellagio fountain, the iconic fountain in Vegas, where they have they've set up basically almost looks like a giant rink and like platforms, and the player will be boated across to the center platform, and then will have to, I believe, get the puck into each little glowing section. And they mentioned in the articles I've read that, it's kind of almost going to be a little bit hazardous because, you've got the mist coming up off of the fountain, so it'll make for an interesting dynamic, I suppose. We'll see if it works in practice because it could just end up being a mess if they completely miss their shots every time. But it also is a really cool visual. At least the little key art that they put out looks really nice. And then the other one that you mentioned, Andrew, is 21 and 22, which is basically giant blackjack. It's like a big rack of cards, essentially, that a player will be shooting at in an attempt to get blackjack. And then the person who shoots it in the fewest shots wins, as far as I'm aware. So that's really neat that they're trying these different events. We'll see if they crash and burn, because that's very possible that they do, because this is the NHL and we know how this works. But another thing I also caught in at least ESPN's thing is the breakaway challenge, the shootout. Did I miss that? It says it's returning for the first time since 2016. And if I remember correctly, that was the last time we had the shootout, basically. So is the shootout coming back, or am I just misremembering here,
Yeah,
Andrew?
they're bringing back some sort of breakaway challenge. I don't know if it'll be the same, but I know that one of the goalies is going to be Wyatt Russell, who was in the sequel to Goon,
Mm-hmm.
and also the U.S. agent in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and son
Oh,
of
yeah.
Kurt Russell, by the way.
Yep.
And Wyatt Russell played hockey. Like Kurt Russell moved to, I believe, BC so that he could play hockey in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So like Wyatt Russell is a legit hockey person. He's not just like a stunt to bring in. He loves the game. So
Mm-hmm.
that's super
It'll be
interesting.
nice to see him in an event where I don't want to punch him in the face.
Well, I was saying he needs to, if they're doing the breakaway challenge and it's like a fun thing again, is hide like Cap's shield under his jersey and pull it out and stop a shot with it.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah. So there's at least hope that, there's going to be some fun
Yeah, I'm
at the
not.
All-Star break.
My expectations are not high. I
Also,
find
you're probably not going to watch anyway because you've got a
this is
million things
true.
to do.
This is
But
true.
that's fair that your expectations aren't high. I know we talked that I'm more into it than you are, but I'm glad that they're taking risks. At least in Vegas, it's going to be a show regardless of what happens. We know that that's going to at least be entertaining in some form. It has to be. It's Vegas. I don't think they can really disappoint in terms of putting on a show. Who knows if the hockey is going to be good? But I think Vegas is going to do their best to put on a show, and we've seen how it works. Maybe it's just the atmosphere and the Vegas crowd buys into it. But I think it's definitely going to be more entertaining than we've seen in previous years. So I like that they're trying new things. But the other big story heading into the All-Star weekend is, hey, Alex Ovechkin isn't going to be there again. And this time it's because he, I believe, tested positive for COVID, or had a test that was close or something. I don't remember the specifics of it. But this isn't the first time Ovechkin has missed the All-Star game due to an injury of some kind. And I'm just asking the question. And this is also a joke. I'm not insinuating really that Ovechkin, is faking a COVID test. It's just funny given his past history with not going to the All-Star game because of an injury, or, an and then also taking the, having to sit out of a game because of missing the All-Star game with an injury. So it is funny. I hope he's doing well if, if, like it said, he has COVID, because you never want a player to have COVID. That's obviously a bad thing. It is just really funny how it's deja vu all over again, but with COVID for Ovechkin. It's just funny.
Yeah, I do wonder how many of his teammates he was like, just cough on me.
Mhm.
He just doesn't want to go to the All-Star game anymore.
Which is
I don't think
unfortunate,
that's true, but anyway, it's kind of funny. I don't think, like, players who are getting on in years, I feel like the All-Star game just becomes annoying, and it's only really fun for the young players. Like, we talked about a couple weeks ago about how we could fix the All-Star game, make it a little bit more fun. I think that's something that they need to continue to look at, but it's funny, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. That
nah, and I
not
mean,
there.
it's Alex Ovechkin. He's going to score, however many goals to the end of the season. He's got bigger things to worry about. The All-Star game really is more for the fans in the arena to get a good show. At the end of the day, it does suck though, and I believe his wife was also like in transit to go. So I obviously I was joking. It is just funny.
Yeah, if his wife was going to go, then he definitely wanted to go. Then,
Yeah,
like, I don't think that he would send her on a plane.
No, that makes no sense out in
Purposely
these
get out of it.
pandemic times. It is just really funny. But that means Tom Wilson is the Capitals representative for the All-Star game, which, people are going to be very mad at.
They'll have feelings about that. Yeah.
I don't really care either way. But that also means that Claude Giroux is the captain of the Metropolitan Division. My boy. It was his last All-Star game as a Flyer.
Yeah, his
Very
last
sad.
hurrah.
I
hope he has fun.
Yes.
I hope him and Nick Suzuki have a lot of fun.
Yes. I think we can agree that, we want, the players from the teams that we are either fans of or cover. We want them to do well. And I want all the, the young players to have fun. Sadly, we talked about it, Drake Batherson because of his injury, but there's, still a lot of young players going. I know Trevor Zegras isn't going because he wasn't selected, but I hope that he's there in some capacity, like asked by the NHL to go to do
Didn't
something.
he get voted in?
Did he?
The last
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure he got voted in as last
Maybe
one
he
in.
did. But regardless, I hope he's there. If he is, that passed my radar because there's a lot of stuff going on in the NHL and beyond, as I talked about. But I hope he's there in some capacity because he's really awesome. His goals this year and, moments have been incredible. There's not a like. I look forward to it just because, hockey Twitter always seems to have a fun time with it. And I feel like if I was just watching it by myself and not related to hockey Twitter, I probably wouldn't have nearly as much fun with it. But because hockey Twitter likes to have fun with it, I enjoy it. So, it's gonna be a time. There's gonna be some clownery. There's gonna be some memes. It's always a, at least fun time on Twitter. And if you're going to the game, it's probably pretty fun too, because like there probably is not like it's a fun party atmosphere, especially in Vegas. So I think we're gonna end it there. We'll probably have more to talk about the All-Star game, if it was a flop or not, like next week. When we actually see how the NHL did here and how successful or not their events were. But I am looking forward to it. But Andrew will probably be sleeping or watching the Olympics. I'll probably be dual watching the Olympics and the All-Star game. But coming up next before we head out is our pop culture segment that we do every episode. And I know Andrew probably has a few things to say about the Book of Boba Fett. And I'm looking forward to hearing them coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing only the brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. RockAuto.com is a family business serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. They have everything from engine control modules and brake parts to tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Whether it's for your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. The RockAuto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose the brands, specifications, and prices you prefer. Best of all, prices at rockauto.com are always reliably low, and the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so that they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right, Andrew, like I teased before the break, the Book of Boba Fett did some stuff. I do not care if you spoil me because I've already seen it.
No, there's
but I have
too
to
much.
I have to wonder, Andrew, about how is this a good decision, Andrew? Is Boba Fett getting shafted in his own show?
Yes, well, he definitely is. He's had one line in the last 2 episodes. Like, he's barely been in it. I hope that he is the biggest factor in the season finale, because it's now the next episode is the season finale. But here's the thing. So much happened in the last episode. It was so much hype that I don't even want to talk about it, because everybody who hasn't watched this, there are so many Easter eggs for if you watch the Clone Wars, there's prequel stuff, there's Mandalorian stuff, there's original trilogy stuff. Like, it's so packed. It was the craziest hour or so of Star Wars content that I've seen, maybe ever. Now, did they shaft Boba Fett? Yes. Unfortunately, that is kind of unavoidable, I think, with what they're doing. But it is setting up one of the craziest season finales that I can remember. I think the ratings must be going through the roof for this thing, which unfortunately is when they shifted gears away from Boba Fett. But it's going to be really fun. I don't want to go into any details because some things were spoiled for me before that episode. Because literally, the people who stay up until midnight to watch it were posting on Twitter, and it was going like viral, posting on Instagram, like anything that I logged onto in the morning, there was like screen caps and videos, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, you people can't wait.
Hashtags?
Like, not even hashtagging. Nothing.
That's
like
the worst.
The people who spoil stuff before like end of work day when a thing comes out on a streaming site, like, get out of here.
This is why I think a couple summers ago, when The Mandalorian season 2,
yep,
I think, with it's been long enough. Can I spoil the end of The Mandalorian season 2?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
yeah.
When Luke Skywalker shows up at the end of The Mandalorian season 2, I advocated for. I think Disney's doing a big disservice dropping it when they do. We're missing a Game of Thrones like show that premieres at the same time. I mean, I know for some people it's Succession, for some people it's Euphoria. I see a lot of people talking about that, but I miss when Game of Thrones dominated the conversation on Sunday night. And the Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian could do that. But the way streaming works, you get stuff like this where people get spoiled because they have to wait until the day after or whatever, after the workday ends, to watch it. Some people can stay up till midnight, but other people can't.
What I find strange is, like, there was no real issue like that with WandaVision, because WandaVision absolutely captured the public consciousness, but it was like the community that was watching that, like, just made an agreement with each other, it seemed like, without saying anything, that nobody was going to post spoilers. And there wasn't that level. Whereas, I don't know, I think no matter what you do with Star Wars now, if you're not careful, somebody's going to spoil it, because the community it's too desperate for good things after like hating on the sequel trilogy so much. And also, it's like a super toxic community.
Oh yeah,
like, and Marvel has its own toxicity as well. I think it's getting worse.
Star Wars is in its own
Star Wars is awful.
And another thing is, look, I'm not going to spoil what happens to the Book of Boba Fett because I kind of know what happens, or at least I've seen images, I've seen the tweets, but I don't really know the context of what it is. I wonder if Star Wars is doing a disservice to itself by leaning so much back into the nostalgia. And it's weird because I'm the one bringing this up, and I love a good nostalgia trip. And I love, the hat tips and the nods. But I feel like this is a little bit too much. in that, like, Star Wars, I think, needs to break away. I hate to, invoke Kylo Ren in this situation because I
Kill
used
it
to,
if you have to.
yeah, let the past die, kill it if you have to. I hate to invoke that because I don't like him. Those movies, we've talked about them before, but it is, I don't know. It just, I think they're trying to save face too much. I think they're trying to correct too much in the reverse direction. They tried to do something with the sequel trilogy, didn't work. A lot of fans got mad. Now they're trying to reverse correct and play on the nostalgia in an attempt to win back the goodwill of the fans. And for some, it's working. Like, I'm not blaming you in this instance. And I have not seen the show up to, I've seen the first 3 episodes or something like that. So I've not seen the point where it delineates from Boba Fett's story to other things. But I'm just curious as to if this is a good direction and it's just kind of covering up its deficiencies with, playing to the nostalgia part of Star Wars. And nostalgia is a good part of Star Wars, sure, but there should be other stories told, I think.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
it's
would
weird that
say
I'm saying this because I did not take this track for a while. Especially at the end of Mandalorian season 2, I was okay with that. But now it's just like, I think we're stringing it maybe a little bit too long here.
well, I think The Mandalorian is not overall nostalgic.
Mhm.
Like you had that one moment with Luke, but it is a very original story
And
that
also, I
takes
guess,
place.
Ahsoka, because I
Yes, and
mean,
Ahsoka. But I mean, like that's not even really nostalgia because I mean, I guess it is, but that's something that's not even 20 years old, like
that's fair. But
so it's not trying to shoot back to the original trilogy, which I think is what you're really pointing at is like trying to attach itself to something that people already are in love with to try to like
And,
boost
like,
the
I
modern
get it. I
story.
feel like this is hypocritical coming from me because I was a big Rey Skywalker person, and I know a lot of people push back on that because they're like, "It doesn't need to connect back to the Skywalkers." And I was like, "But it's narratively makes a lot of sense because it'd be great to see a woman pick up the Skywalker mantle, blah, 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 blah." But we don't have to rehash that argument. But I don't know. I'd
This
love to
is
see Star Wars take a new direction that is unattached from anything we know. And I know that the Book of Boba Fett has some characters that are from the original canon, but they could have done other things to try and separate his story, and now we got overshadowed in his own story. I just kind of feel like that kind of must suck for the, cast of the show to basically be um kind of like piloting the start of the 3rd season of The Mandalorian, essentially.
yeah.
It's a very strange decision. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. Maybe in the moment I will feel happiness and joy like you did, and I'm not berating anybody that does. I just think that, for its own good, Star Wars probably needs to make a clean break somewhere and try something new. There's an entire galaxy out there.
Well, I feel like they did that with the Mandalorian though. That's the
Yeah,
thing. And
but
I think
they hooked it back,
yeah,
Andrew.
but
It's
that
been
you
it's
have
been
to
hooked
it
back.
is in the same universe, right? Like
I know, but
you
you
can
don't
do something
need.
new and not be completely disconnected,
I
right?
know, but you don't need to, like, I don't know. Maybe I'll feel different once I've, actually sat down and watched these episodes. But I don't know. It would be nice to see, them expand on the world building, but you don't need to bring certain characters back into the fold. I don't know.
Well, I would say this is the one thing that Star Wars has in terms of like the advantage that they have in storytelling is that the release order of the films has always been non-linear. So they can jump around in different timelines and add things and fill in story and borrow characters from different areas, and it just kind of fits. And as long as they don't overdo it, it can like enhance things, right? And I think that that's what they're going to do now. And I think if you watch like what Dave Filoni was able to do with both the Clone Wars and Rebels, like he knows what he's doing. So I would trust the vision, even if it seems like it might not be working for you at the moment. Like to me, he's earned that trust, and I think he's also got like his favorite characters that he brought into the universe, like Ahsoka, like a character that appears in this episode that are being brought back and kind of worked into official Star Wars canon outside of just the animation. So there's that as
I think I
well.
would just like to see a new take. And I think the reason why I'm also coming to this is because my friends a couple weeks ago or a week ago watched Star Wars Visions. The anime styled, done by different anime studios, like the little shorts basically or whatever. I don't think they're connected to many characters in the wider Star Wars universe. Maybe I should watch that because they said it was really good. And they're just, little bite-sized pieces of adventures that aren't connected to the Star Wars canon we know. Maybe that's what I'm craving because I feel like Star Wars could use. I think there can be space for both. I just think that they're doing a disservice by not having, a big new series not connected to the past in that, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I went off on this tangent, and I wasn't going to because I know you want to keep the episode short so you can go to bed, Andrew. But I just
Yes, I am falling asleep already.
Well, I thank you for suffering through that with me because I know I should watch the rest of the Book of Boba Fett episodes. Maybe I will today. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll wait until the season is over. But thank you for suffering through that with me because I don't know. For some reason I have a lot of feelings on that, and we'll probably discuss next week when the finale happens. So, I'm sure we're gonna have more to talk about. But that is all we have for you today on the Cross-Check NHL Show. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure to follow us on your podcast platform of choice, from Apple to Odyssey to Spotify and now YouTube, and rate and review us while you're at it. You can follow the pod at Cross-Check NHL on Twitter, me, Mary C. Clarke on Twitter, and Andrew at Andrew Berkshire on Twitter. Thanks for making the Cross-Check NHL Show your first listen every Tuesday and Friday. We'll be back on Tuesday with some more puck talk, but now make your second listen Locked On Bets. Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with the expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling.